Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. In a landmark judgment which is going to have large-scale consequences for ruling party politicians, both in the centre and the states, the Supreme Court has barred using pictures in government advertisements. Except for the pictures of President, Prime Minister and Chief Justice of India, no pictures of anyone else can be used in government advertisements, and the court felt that it encourages personality cult at government expense. The court has also directed the centre to appoint a 3-member body of ombudsmen to iron out issues regarding implementation of its directions and compliance. The order, while being welcomed by various quarters, has also been criticised, with some taking objections to barring chief ministers, while others feel that it is another case of judicial overreach. It's a fact that both at the centre and states, thousands of crores of rupees are spent on issuing advertisements in print and electronic media at the drop of a hat, which seeks essentially to glorify the ministers, chief ministers, or even the prime ministers. We will discuss today the pros and cons of this judgment and what impact it will have. To discuss this, I have with me Soli Sorabjee, former Attorney General of India, H.K. Dua, Rajya Sabha MP and a veteran journalist who has edited many leading newspapers, Ashok Tandon, a senior journalist who has been the media advisor to former Prime Minister Atal Behari Vajpayee, and Vipul Mudgal, Director of Common Cause, which was one of the petitioners in the case which resulted in this judgment. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Sorabjee, you think that the Supreme Court has done the right thing by passing this order?
Well, the whole idea was that government money should not be spent in order to glorify ministers and politicians. And to the extent, I think is correct. But only one thing I cannot understand: why is the Chief Justice of India included? Idea is that one must not develop a personality cult, but the Chief Justice of India is not going to develop a personality cult. That I don't understand why he's allowed. I could understand even the Vice President. But that's the only thing. Otherwise, I'm in agreement with the spirit of the order, which is don't spend public funds in glorifying ministers and others at public expense.
Okay. Mr. Dua? Mr. Dua, there is also, there are also criticisms already, former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Kannanidhi, has said that, why Chief Ministers have been left out. Chief Ministers are as important as Prime Ministers in a federal system.
He has gone on another plane. He is central state issues.
He's talking of cooperative federalism. In a federal structure, Chief Minister is as important as the Prime Minister.
The main question is, should Supreme Court have got into this question?
Exactly.
That is the main question.
Right.
And I agree with Soli Sorabjee, and I myself was surprised. Why bring in the Chief Justice? Yeah. I have sympathy for the office of the Chief Justice if he has to be brought into this. I don't think Chief Justices, CJIs, can be accused of building personality cult. I don't think they can be accused of. Certainly, Chief Ministers, Prime Ministers, you can get their pictures are used. Chief Justice picture is not used as many times
as often as the politicians.
Exactly. So that was, I think, redundant, totally redundant. As far as this area is concerned, I don't know why Supreme Court should have gone into it. You should not spend public money on personality cult. That's certainly. But whether the court should get into it, I'm not very sure.
But the objection, in fact, the objection of the government, this case started last year, I think, when the UPA government was in power, and then it continued when the India government has come in power. The argument of the government was that this is a policy decision which has to be taken by the government. Why should courts step into it?
That is the one. To me, the objection is the copy itself, which comes on the full-page ads in the newspapers. It's so tedious to read those copies. I don't think it has much impact, frankly speaking. Ultimately, the people decide what a government, what a chief minister, what a prime minister, actually do it on the ground, and the results are available. Whatever the ads you may give, often we have seen in the elections, some of these ads are counterproductive, actually.
That's a completely separate debate. I think that whether this.
So the legality of it is, so naturally Supreme Court decides, so everybody has to take it seriously.
Now it has
whether public money has to be spent wisely or unwisely, How many times, who will judge whether it's this is an ad is a promotion of individual or it's a promotion of a policy or public awareness program and all that. Now, it's very difficult to draw the line.
That's also a tricky area. Mr. Tandon, how do you look? Yes, Mr. Sorabjee, you want to intervene?
I wanted to say it tends to encourage a personality cult. That's the whole point. Whether it actually does or not is not the question.
Absolutely.
The very tendency is to encourage and build up a personality cult.
Okay.
And for that, public money should not be spent. Let them give advertisements at their own expense.
At their own expense, at the party's expense. Mr. Tandon, how do you look at this? As far as the policy issues are concerned, the argument that this is a policy matter. Now, there is another case of judicial overreach. The judiciary is getting into the, area of the executive.
No, I personally feel there are certain very good aspects of this judgment also. Like on, say, Gandhi Jayanti.
Right.
Now, there are hundreds of advertisements on that.
Given by different departments.
There is multiplicity of the ad. I think this is where there should be some cut. And also leaders who are ex-prime ministers or leaders, I don't want to name them, but that part I do agree with the Supreme Court that there should be some check on that. But the thing is that when you are allowing the Prime Minister picture to be used on the advertisements of the central government, the similar status, constitutional status, is enjoyed by the Chief Minister in the state. So either it's an oversight on the part of either the petitioner or the Supreme Court to have ignored the Chief Minister.
Oh, I think I need to bring this. The Madhav Menon committee, which the Supreme Court appointed, in fact, on the basis of the recommendations of that committee, this judgment, they have accepted most of the Madhav Menon committee had said Chief Ministers needs to be included, Governors need to be included, President, Chief Prime Minister, Governor and Chief Minister. The court apparently, in its judgment, said that, Governors and Chief Ministers can...
No, I think here there may be some revision petition and I hope they correct it. But I can understand it is the President of India and the Prime Minister of the center and the Governor and the Chief Minister in the state. As others have also pointed out, there is no need for the Chief Justice of India to come into the picture. Now, having said that, I also feel that will this reduce the expenditure on the advertisement? I say no, because the advertisements will still be there even if they are without the picture of a minister.
Of a minister.
Yeah. So if the moot question was to curtail the expenditure on advertisement, where all of us agree that a lot of wasteful expenditure is spent on the advertisement, which is not really productive also. But I think while discussing this aspect, Supreme Court has forgotten that aspect of the wasteful expenditure and gone into whose picture should be appearing and whose picture not be appearing. So I personally feel there needs to be a revision petition where state advertisements you will have to allow Chief Minister, because you have allowed the Prime Minister for the central government advertisement. So I think I agree to some extent with what Karunanidhi has said. It certainly raises a question of federal structure in the Constitution. Thirdly, which is another important point, if this is to discourage the advertisement, newspaper revenue
discouraging advertisement, discouraging personality cult. I don't know whether it is this order or judgment is to discourage advertisements.
No, but I think where the petitioner started was that there is a lot of wasteful expenditure. So if the idea is to curtail the expenditure on advertisement, I feel, being a journalist, it will certainly affect the newspaper industry also.
No, we'll come to that.
Small and medium newspapers.
Mr. Tandon, we'll come to that aspect of it. That's a very important aspect, actually, that let's discuss that. Vipul, now, Common Cause is one of the petitioners, apart from the, Prashant Bhushan. Now, some of the questions raised by Mr. Tandon. And my own question, what was the basis for this petition?
See, the basis was very simple. This was filed in 2003 in the middle of a media blitzkrieg by the then ruling party, which was called the India Shining campaign. And this was filed under the guidance of the founder of Common Cause, who is Mr. H.D. Soli. So, and it's a very interesting case. In the process of the last 13, 14 years, there were attempts to kill it. There were many times we thought that this was not going to go forward, because very vociferously and very strongly argued by the opponents that, you know, once the parliament has cleared expenditure, nobody has a right to question it. But you see, the plea was very simple. It was prayed that, look, big advertisements are being issued out of public money, and at times it is not required. So, I mean, I know that two very important, very senior journalists are sitting here and who've raised objections of many types. But you see, the point is that the court has given a very landmark judgment in which they have raised questions about the, you know, the public part of it, the public expenditure. Say, for instance, if it is for awareness about diseases, about, you know, government programs, about employment opportunities, etc., then they can go ahead and do it, natural disasters, etc. But at the same time, you know, the patronage, the political parties, the symbol of political parties, the guidelines have been issued. And I think it's a very important judgment also because there is a ombudsman. It's the court does not say directly as suggested by the three-member committee, but they've said that there will be 3 experts of unimpeachable kind of integrity who would then, you know, suggest ways and who would also take complaints. So I think this has the capacity to emerge in its own right as a democratic institution over time.
On its own?
On its own, in its own steam.
Okay. Mr. Sorabjee? Sorabjee, in the light of what Vipul says, you think that, you know, some kind of guidelines were necessary? Because, you know, this is not just about one government at the center or another government or another party government. It's a problem which we have faced across the country.
Well, I think this guidelines business will make it more complicated. You'll have people to observe whether guidelines are complied with. I think the best thing would have been Gandhiji on Gandhi Jayanti Day and the President. I don't know, even Prime Minister, if you say Prime Minister, but also Chief Minister, that also is a debatable point. Chief Justice of India, I don't understand at all. But the thing is, idea is, Supreme Court didn't want to tell the government, amount of sanctions, all very well, but to spend it in order to develop a personality cult. Public money is being spent for that. That's what the Supreme Court says should not be done. Maybe it went wrong in including the Chief Justice, or maybe it went wrong in not having the Chief Minister. I feel just have Gandhiji on Gandhi Jayanti Day and the President, full stop.
No,
Prime Minister, Chief Minister.
Mr. Sorabjee, what about the argument that this is another classic example, classic instance of judicial overreach?
About judicial overreach? Judicial overreach, you will say in every case. When the court restrains unnecessary expenditure, when the court says they don't spend public monies in order to glorify political personalities, hasn't the court got some say? It may be that it went wrong in selecting the persons, but in principle this is not judicial overreach. The court is perfectly entitled to say that public monies are not spent in order to help to glorify politicians, in order to lead to tendency to develop personality cult.
No, but Mr. Sorabjee, the question is also of policy. This is a policy issue which it is in the rightfully it is in the executive's domain. That domain is now being stepped into by the judiciary. This is another argument.
No. Policy issue. Suppose, for example, the policy is that every Diwali or every such other thing will spend thousands in celebration. Then what happens? Public money has to be spent at the whim and fancy. There must be some public purpose underlying public expenditure. That's the whole point. There's no question of judicial overreach. Judiciary is only concerned with how public money should not be misapplied for the purpose of glorifying politicians and others. Why do you want the names? Why do you want the pictures? And there is no question of freedom of the press being infringed upon. If the parties want to do it at their own expense. These parties are very rich.
That argument is quite likely to come very soon. Mr. Dua, Mr. Tandon raised that point. Now, how much is it going to affect the media? The media is not going to be happy with this. At least the owners are not going to be happy with it.
I'm sure the small and medium papers are going to be affected.
No, not
But
just
that is frankly speaking.
No, sir, I just want to bring to your notice that the Indian Language Newspaper Association, INLA, has welcomed this judgment. They say that this judgment is welcome because the governments inevitably patronized only the big newspapers and a handful of small newspapers whom they wanted to patronize. So there is actually a welcome by the INLA.
Personally, I would like the newspaper to be dependent on their own ads. If you ever want to be free of the government influences, then you have to be free from their ads, the government ads, or any other party's ads, or any one interest ads, to exercise your full freedom. That's the ideal situation.
That is the ideal situation. But we know how newspaper advertising managers pursue these governments to issue ads in their newspapers.
It is quite, but sometimes the chief ministers use the ads as a pressure tactic to see the newspapers, small and medium, particularly fall in the line. The bigger papers get away without paying that kind of penalty in losses. But the basic question remains, should public money be spent on building a personality cult? Now that question, I don't know whether they'll find some other way to do it.
Correct.
They will do some other way to do it. They don't have to do.
Private money, I mean, they'll use advertisements, which is fine.
No, they may use paid news syndrome.
Paid news syndrome can increase because of
Certainly.
This can happen, that risk is there. They'll find politicians are too clever. They'll find some other ways to get into the newspaper and based on personality. My point is different there, frankly speaking.
But lawyers and judges are also clever.
These ads are not great vote catchers. Because the frequency of the ads, the size of the ads, and the way the copy...
We have seen that, in fact...
I have a point in this.
Yes.
Sir, they are actually
even the Shining India campaign 2003
didn't work.
You know what they do? What they do is actually, in today's world, what they do is they actually get the recall value at the back of the mind of the reader. So they are not interested in, they are not even reading what is written there. But because the picture is there, clad in very interesting attire, etc., and you see a smiling, beaming face of the Prime Minister, that is enough. Because the advertiser today says that it's a back of the mind recall value creation.
Mr.
Tandon, I want you to react to this because since this happened, this petition started off in 2003 when you were very much part of that administration at that time. And what happened after that, everybody knows that all that campaign which went on into the India Shining, it didn't pay any dividends as electorally.
But in spite of what my colleague is saying, the fact remains that the governments, they represent the public and they are accountable to them also.
Right.
If they are launching certain good schemes for social cause, these schemes need to be highlighted.
Right.
No, I agree that picture, if the social cause ad is without the picture also, it will have its impact.
It will or it will not be.
No, but these are two different issues.
Yes.
My argument is that the Supreme Court has not gone into the merits of the advertisements or the money being spent on it. They have just focused on the pictures of three people.
Not just pictures, sir.
See, let me complain. The thing is, I am for one thing, that the governments, whether they are central government or the state government, they have a right to publicize their social welfare schemes. And this is one of the mediums to reach out to the people, to tell what exactly we are doing. See, after all, they have made so many promises to the people. And if they are fulfilling those promises, advertisement is one medium to do that. Now, if the Supreme Court had said there should be some curtailment on the expenditure, in fact, recently, the Prime Minister's office issued a circular that there should be less advertisements in newspapers.
No, in fact,
sometimes
the problem arises when
only.
Supreme Court includes the name of the Chief Justice of India and also allows the Prime Minister's name to be, or the pictures to be included, and leaves the ministers as well as the Chief Minister.
Which means that every government advertisement now will have Prime Minister's pictures and none of the Ministers' pictures, and the state government...
Not necessarily.
No, and then there is a rider there. There is a rider in the...
There is a rider that Prime Minister will use the discretion. The point,
Prime Minister, now the onus is on these three personalities to decide whether the picture should be there in the advertisement or not.
If you go by just the basic prayer the basic prayer is that, look, 100 days of one government, 200 days of another government, 250 days of, foundation laying ceremony, after that the inauguration of the flyover, and, all kinds of things. So basically saying that big advertisement at public cost, which are perhaps not required.
Vipul, that is, Mr. Tandon rightly points out, made a very important point. He said this judgment has nothing to do with the expenditure which the governments, incur in these kind of advertisements. Now, Mr. Sorabjee, could they have gone into that aspect also? What is... Now, how can the if they had gone into that aspect, then how can they fix a limit to this kind of expenditures?
That's precisely, but they didn't go into it. Look, let's be clear.
So
government is perfectly entitled. Just 2 minutes.
Yeah, please.
Government is perfectly entitled to tell the people its achievements and how it has succeeded in its administration. Perfectly all right. It should do that. The political parties can do it at their expense. They can do it without having the picture of the Prime Minister as the Chief Justice. Why is the picture necessary for the people to be told that, look, we have successfully done this, X, Y, Z? Why do you want the picture? Picture tends to develop a personality cult. And if you don't have it, what's the great attack on press freedom?
No, but
you have your money, political parties can do it. Don't spend public money.
Absolutely, Mr. Sorabjee, your point is well taken. But there's another hitch here I can foresee. One is that now they have said that some important personalities, historical personalities, and they have named somebody like Mahatma Gandhi. Now we have a government at present which would like to have its own icons also to be remembered and celebrated. Now what will happen to that? Now every time something like that comes, will somebody have to rush to the Supreme Court and say, is this man cleared by you or not?
3-member committee for complaints.
Mr. Tandon?
No. I see, if the Supreme Court had left it to this 3-member committee to discuss the issue of wasteful expenditure, how to limit the ad, and, like social cause ad without picture, etc. But the direction is only in respect of 3 pictures. Nothing else.
And Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah, no.
And Mahatma Gandhi, they used to...
See, there it's an observation that on occasions like that,
of course,
there should not be a flood of advertisement.
Right.
As I said recently, there is a circular from the Prime Minister's office. A lot of unnecessary ads are appearing, so the government should restrict it. So that means the executive is also conscious of this fact.
No, absolutely. No, in fact, I'm giving you some figure, interesting figure. This has been...
But one question remains. Overuse of the same picture again and again. Overuse of the same picture again and again is counterproductive.
The present INB secretary is on record today. He says that there has been a 42.3% cut in government advertisement expenditure this year compared to last year. Last year, 2013-14, it was 1,300 crores, and this 2014-15, it has come down to 750 crores.
And this is as a result of the Prime Minister's circular.
It has nothing to do with
that. But it does not say that we are not going to spend the remaining money on the completion of 1 year. So you never know. Many chief ministers, let me tell you, Girish, they hold that money until the election eve. Absolutely. And they use all of it on the election.
Absolutely.
So,
we know all that.
But Supreme Court should have gone into that.
To all these aspects.
Rather than blocking the Chief Minister's picture to be appearing. So, no, let me complain. Are you going to stop the Chief Ministers from giving advertisements by this order? No. The advertisements will still appear.
Absolutely.
So the moot question which you as petitioner raised still remains.
Absolutely. Another Sir, Mr. Sorabjee, there is another problem which may crop up. Now, this is as far as the Prime Ministers. They say that only Prime Minister and President and Chief Justice. Now, what happens to the local bodies? Let us assume that local bodies will issue advertisements. Mayors will issue advertisements. We know what happens in the panchayats and mayors issuing the full-page advertisements in local newspapers. Now, does that come under this jurisdiction of this order.
And what happens to the cutouts which the,
What
which the
happens to the
chief ministers
cutouts?
put up in the middle of the road? Life-size cutouts.
Yes, Mr. Sorabjee.
Yeah, look, we are, I think, mixing up the issues. No one is preventing, as I said, the government, state government, or anyone from advertising, publicizing, eulogizing their achievements. Do it. Only thing is, don't have the picture of a particular person there. These chief ministers are really transitory. Chief minister in April will not be chief minister in November. As I said, frankly, I thought the thing should have been the president, Gandhiji on Gandhi Jayanti Day, full stop.
Full stop.
Not even the prime minister nor the chief justice. That would have been principle, and they would prevent other people saying, this is my icon, we admire this particular person, and you would have about 50 people.
Exactly.
Have them. If you like them so much, please do it. Don't use public money. Use taxpayers' money for that purpose.
Okay.
That's the point.
I will ask you, are you as a petitioner satisfied with this order to the extent that it does not fulfill your basic purpose?
No, I think it does. It does fulfill the basic purpose that the court has. You see, they tried to dismiss it. Many people were hoping that this will get dismissed, and a lot of hard work was done. You see, we filed RTI applications. There was one particular government in Tamil Nadu which completed 1 year and had given ridiculous amount of advertising. So we filed RTI applications and we submitted all that to the court, and also we submitted the global best practices, and the court has taken note of global best practices and said, given the example of Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and a couple of other countries, which was submitted by us. So I think the court is putting it in line with the rest of the world, and I think it was very important to take this away from the politicians, and perhaps it can be taken further. Maybe there can be more interventions, not directly from the court, maybe through the advocacy route. But something was required, and we thought that the big advertisements were going, and a lot of money, public money, was being spent. But I think there is some curb on general advertising apart from pictures also.
So today there is also a news story which says that all these hoardings which are there all over Delhi of Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, will have to be removed, or it's being removed. So
in Tamil Nadu, the tradition is of full life-size cutouts.
Not just Tamil Nadu.
But sir, if the party is paying for it, it is fine.
Yeah.
One doesn't know who pays.
But if the people of India, the taxpayers are paying for it, then there is a problem.
This judgment would have curtailed the unnecessary wasteful expenditure on advertisement, but unfortunately it does not.
It does not touch on that, and now it may be a little too late to bring in that aspect of it. Would you agree with that, Mr. Sorabjee? That, as far as the expenditure, the actual expenditures...
The court was not interested in the actual quantum of expenditure. Court was interested, or rather the motivation was the principle. Don't use this to promote personality cult. That's the thing.
That is fair.
And by the way, it may be, there are two views, but to my mind, this judgment is a step in the right direction.
Okay, sir. Absolutely. I think on that note, we will have to end this program. A step in the right direction. How it will go, it will all work out in the final analysis is something which we'll have to wait and watch. But some of the issues which has come up in this discussion will have to be looked at and maybe debated a little more. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.